Robin Brown, one of the stars of the reality show Sister Wives, is having a hard time right now. She is in the hospital because she has cancer. Robin is in suffering both physically and emotionally because no one in her family has come to see her. The family has had a lot of problems for a long time. Robin was previously embraced as part of the family by Kody Brown's other wife and kids, but over time, they have grown resentful and angry with each other. Now, Kody Brown and Robin's own kids are the only ones with her. Robin is battling for his life inside the hospital's white walls. Sometimes chemotherapy and other times being alone. But he hasn't given up. The doctors are hopeful that Robin will get better, but it will take time. He still has a long way to go. He requires family support in addition to physical therapy, which is what he needs the most right now. Every moment of Robin's life feels like a fight right now. He waits, hoping that one day past relationships may be fixed. This narrative isn't only about Robin, it's about the lonely struggles of mothers, wives, and women. The fluorescent lights in the hospital hallway flickered quietly, leaving pale shadows on the clean floor. Robin Brown lay still on her hospital bed in room 207. Her skin was darker than usual, and her once bright eyes were dull from being tired. The chemotherapy rounds had worn her down, making her weaker every day. The anguish in her bones wasn't the worst pain she felt. It was the emptiness around her. Kody Brown, her husband, visited when he could. He often didn't say anything and just sat next to her holding her hand. Her kids, who were like heartbeats to her, came to see her in turns, attempting to keep smiles on their cheeks while they saw her go through treatments. But no one else showed up. Not Mary, not Janelle, not Christine, not even the kids who Robin used to love like her own. The Sister Wives family that used to seem so strong was now broken apart by time, wounds, and quiet. Robin looked at the blank TV screen on the other side of her bed. She would switch it on sometimes simply to hear the noise and think that someone was talking to her. At other times, she closed her eyes and let her memories fill the room. She thought of the dinners they had, the kids laughing, and late-night discussions on the porch with the other spouses. It felt like those moments were echoes from another time. She remembered the early days quite well, when the family had welcomed her with open arms. Christine had once put her hair in braids. Janelle had shown her how to cook her grandmother's renowned casserole. Mary, who was always careful about showing her strength, had once told Robin everything during a late-night talk. But those ties have come apart. Anger grew out of misunderstandings. Miscommunication turned into silence. And as time went on, affection turned into distance. The door creaked as it opened. Robin looked up hopefully, but it was just a nurse with another tray of medicine. The nurse asked Mrs. Brown, "How are we feeling today?" "Like I'm climbing a mountain that never ends," Robin said with a small smile. The nurse smiled back and carefully moved the foreline. "One step at a time. That's how you climb mountains." Days went by. The doctors were still cautiously hopeful. They said, "You're doing well. We think you can beat this." But even when they won, it didn't feel like a win if they didn't share it. Robin decided to write letters one afternoon while it was raining outside. One for Mary, for Janelle, for Christine. She told him everything, her regrets, her apologies, her memories, and her hopes. She wrote to heal, not to blame. She believed that maybe her words would reach them even if her voice couldn't. Weeks later, as her body progressively got stronger, something strange happened. Christine came. She stood at the entrance, clutching a bunch of flowers that were starting to wilt. Her eyes were crimson around the edges. "Hi, Robin," she said, her voice shaking. Robin's throat got constricted. "Christine?" she whispered. "I got your letter. I've been mad for a long time, but it upset me to think you were all by yourself. We told each other that we wouldn't do that years ago." Robin's tears fell down her cheeks. "I never stopped loving you, all like sisters. I just didn't know how to make it better." Christine stepped up and gently wrapped her arms around her. "Maybe we can start small. Just being here might be enough." In the next few weeks, the others came too. First, Janelle came, and she was shy and reserved. Then Mary gave her a complicated, bittersweet hug. They didn't talk about the past very much. There was still anguish, but now there was also something there. And sometimes that was all they needed. Robin's health got better slowly. The chemotherapy sessions went on, but she slowly got stronger. Her hope also went away. Robin said, "Maybe I wasn't fighting alone after all," as she walked down the hospital hallway with her four-stand one morning, accompanied by her children and, surprise, her sister's spouses. They might have just needed some time. Healing isn't just for the body, it's also for the heart. But when Middle Brown stood alone in her tranquil backyard, one hand resting lightly on her round belly, the sun was just starting to rise over the red cliffs of Flagstaff. The chilly morning breeze brought back memories and the smell of pine. She could still hear his laugh, which was robust, playful, and constantly on the verge of getting into trouble. Garrison. It had been a year since her brother, who she loved very much, died. Every day she thought of him, his generosity, his strength, and how he stood up for what was right, even when it meant being alone. Kody and Janelle Brown's daughter, who frequently goes unnoticed, has always had a unique connection with Garrison. He was more than just a brother. He was her anchor, her cheerleader, and her guardian. She cried for an hour when she found out she was pregnant, not because she was scared or shocked, but because Garrison would never get to see her kid. He had always said he wanted to be the cool uncle, the one who would smuggle candy and give advice that no one else would. Middle had made up his mind now that he was standing there under the Arizona sky. One that seemed correct. One that felt like it was healing. The Brown family had come together at Janelle's house for the gender reveal. This was a rare time when almost all of the siblings were there. Even Kody, who was far away and always busy, came. There was always tension in their broken family, but for one day, the air was filled with something else. Optimism. There was a soft pop, a swirl of confetti, and a chorus of gasps in the air. Someone yelled with pleasure, "It's a girl." People cheered, but Janelle realized that Middle had stopped talking. She smiled, but it was clear that she was holding something back, as if she had one more surprise in her heart. Middle stood up later, when the family was sitting in a circle on mismatched lawn chairs, drinking lemonade, and attempting to overlook the old wounds behind their smiles. She had a little card in her hand. "I want to tell you something," she stated in a loud but calm voice. "I've picked a name for my daughter." Everyone looked at her, interested. Some others thought it would be a traditional name, maybe even a biblical one, to honor the family's roots. But no one saw what would happen next. "Her name will be Garrison Lee Brown. Garrison, in honor of my brother, your son, your sibling, and our soldier of heart." There was a long silence in the backyard. Then there were tears. Janelle was the first to break down. She covered her face with her hands and felt a mix of sadness and happiness. Kody, who had a hard time showing his feelings in the past few years, bowed his head and wiped away a tear before anyone could see. Robin sat up straight, surprised, with her hands grabbing the arms of her chair. One by one, Aspen, Logan, Maddie, and the others stepped up and hugged Middle. No words were needed. They just held her. Because at that moment, through the echo of her pain, she had made a place where Garrison lived again. In the name, in the love, and in the legacy. A few months later, Garrison Lee was born. She was a healthy baby girl with deep brown eyes that appeared to see far beyond her years. Middle often said she saw her kid smiling up at the sky, as if she saw someone else who wasn't there. Like her uncle was still watching. And maybe he was. This one act of recollection became a thread of healing in the Brown family, which was always getting more complicated because of decisions, beliefs, and tragedy. A fractured family discovered a tiny bit of unity again through the name of a child. But Flagstaff was supposed to have another peaceful morning. Christine stood in her kitchen, drinking coffee, as the fresh mountain air came in through the windows. The quiet was so loud it hurt. Things had been strained between her and Kody for months, but this morning felt different, heavier. Christine was used to Kody not being there. He almost ever came over now, and when he did, they only spoke in short, cutting sentences. They used to be great friends, working together to raise their kids and make a life together in the craziness of having more than one spouse. But their emotional bond had steadily and painfully weakened over the past year. That morning, while she was looking through old photo albums, she cried a single tear. Their kids, Michael T., Aspen, and Isabel, had all grown up watching a love story that was slowly falling apart. And then there was a knock. Kody stood at the door with his arms folded and his jaw taut. He didn't grin at her or even nod like he usually does. There was something wrong. "Can we talk?" he asked in a dull voice. Christine motioned for him to come in, getting ready for what was to come. He started pacing the room and said, "I've been thinking. I don't think this is working anymore. You're not happy. I'm not sure what to do. This one feels the most complicated, albeit the other ones are too far away." Christine stood still, her heart racing. "Are you saying what I think you're saying?" Kody remarked, "I think we need to break up," with chilly eyes. "We're not growing together anymore. We're just getting by." A stillness fell between them like dust. Christine felt like her world was shifting. Not because she didn't see it coming, but because it was now being uttered out loud. Then something strange happened. Christine smiled. Not because they were happy, but because they were relieved. She said, "Thank you," quietly. "I've been waiting for you to say it. I packed my bags 2 weeks ago." Kody looked shocked. "What?" "I've been getting ready to leave, Kody. I even signed a lease in Utah. I didn't want to break up the family until you were ready to hear it." He fell into the couch and couldn't speak. Christine stepped over and gave him a picture from their wedding day. "This used to be real, but I'm putting myself first now. And I hope that one day you will thank me for it." A few weeks later, the Brown family was in chaos. Mary didn't say anything. Robin was quite angry. Janelle silently helped Christine, even packing her things. Christine felt better when she finally drove away with Truly in the back seat. She wasn't simply ending her marriage. She was taking back her life. The news went crazy. Fans were shocked. But Christine never thought about it again. A few months later, she put up a picture of herself smiling in front of the Utah mountains with the caption, "I thought I was going to lose everything. I was actually getting myself back." And that's how Christine and Kody's marriage, which was previously based on promises of forever, took a surprising turn and ended in a quiet, powerful revolution of self-love. But as the sun fell above Flagstaff, it cast an orange glow over the Brown family's houses. The sister-wives' relationship had been tense for years, with Kody and Christine in particular having a lot of problems. But nothing could have prepared the family for the unexpected change that was about to happen. Christine had been thinking about things in silence for months. She was the third wife, the one who always tried to keep the peace and smile even when her heart hurt. But something had changed in her. The Christine who used to be okay with being left out was gone. A woman stood in her place, ready to take back her life. It all started on a calm morning. Christine stood by the kitchen table with an envelope in her hand and said, "Kody, we need to talk." Kody looked up from his phone. "What's going on?" Christine took a big breath. "I bought a house in Utah. I'm going to move. Without you." The hush that came after was deafening. "What?" Kody blinked, not sure what to think. "You can't just choose." "I can. And I have," Christine answered, her voice steady. "For years, I placed your happiness before mine. I saw you pull away from us and treat Robin like your only genuine wife. The rest of us became shadows in our own lives. I stayed because of the kids. But now they're older. That's it for me." Kody's cheeks reddened with disbelief. "Are you leaving the family?" "No," she said. "You abandoned the family. I'm just not going to stay where I'm not valued." That day, the other wives found out. Janelle was there for her. Mary was astonished, but not shocked. Robin cried and held on to Kody, who was still trying to figure out what had happened. But Christine wasn't finished. Christine was on a national talk show 2 weeks later. She sat in front of the cameras and shared her story, not just about Kody, but also about how being in a relationship eventually broke her spirit. Christine added, "I want women to know they can choose for themselves. You don't have to stay where you feel small." The news went crazy. People who liked her came together. A lot of people talked about Queen Christine on social media. She was no longer merely a wife on a reality show about polygamy. She was now a symbol of strength. Kody, on the other hand, had a hard time keeping the family together. Robin took greater control. Janelle started to pull away. The family structure, which had been held together by weak ties of duty, began to fall apart. Then came the last shock. Christine made another announcement months after she moved. She was getting married. Daniel was a single father who was nice, down-to-earth, and everything Kody had never been. They met at a community gathering in Utah and fell in love quietly, away from the cameras and noise. Christine's kids loved him. She appeared beautiful in her engagement photos, like she had never been before. Something broke inside Kody when he saw the photographs. Not anger, but remorse. He didn't appreciate her. Now, she was the dream come true for someone else. It wasn't revenge for Christine. It was a new beginning. She didn't want Kody to be in pain. She just didn't want to feel pain anymore. Christine smiled as she walked down the aisle in a simple white dress. She was surrounded by people who really saw her. She was no longer in the shadows and went into her own light. But Mary sat silently in the living room, which was only softly lighted. The years had taken a heavy toll on her. The house used to be full with laughing and the bustle of numerous kids, but now it felt cold and far away. She looked at the old photo album in her lap, the pages velvety with memories of a time when everything seemed possible and love was easier. As she thought back to the beginning of her relationship with Kody, her heart hurt. Their love was strong and apparent back then, like a hurricane that left behind both beauty and chaos. Mary was young, hopeful, and very loyal. She believed in the promise of their family, that love could grow to include many people and that the ties they made would never break. But time had worn that idea down. Kody had also altered. The guy she married, the one who had previously held her hand through storms, had become distant because he was busy with his other marriages and families. Mary often felt that she was on an island, alone and surrounded by ocean. Kody's true moments of seeing her had become uncommon and precious, like jewels hidden deep in the rough. One night, after a very tense meal, Mary was alone in the kitchen. Kody came in silently and leaned against the door frame to watch her. There was a thick quiet between them, full with regrets they couldn't say and hopes that hurt. Kody started softly, "Mary, I know I haven't been the husband you deserve." His voice cracked a little, showing how weak he typically hid. "I've done things wrong, maybe more than I can count, but I want you to know that you are still important to me." Mary's eyes filled with tears. She wanted to trust him, but she was careful because she had been let down so many times before. "Kody, I've loved you through everything. But love isn't always enough. It feels like I'm waging a battle by myself sometimes." Kody walked up and held her hand gently. "I'm sorry. I want to get better. For you. For us." The walls around Mary's heart softened for a minute. She remembered why she loved Kody, his stubborn kindness and the way he made her feel unique even when the world seemed to be against them. She held his hand tightly, silently asking for connection and hope. Mary knew that the path ahead would be hard as they sat quietly next to each other that night. But at that brief moment, they had something real, a glimmer of understanding and a promise that they might be able to find their way back to each other. But Mary eventually took the hardest choice of her life after years of grief, emotional pain, and trying to keep her broken family together, to leave for good. In the first scene of Season 19, Episode 13 of Sister Wives, Mary sits on the porch of her new home in Utah. There is no noise, but she feels a kind of tranquility she hasn't felt in decades. She closed her eyes and thought of the mess she had left behind in Flagstaff as the wind blew through the trees. She had tried for years to make polygamy work. She went through betrayal, loneliness, and being treated like a shadow in a marriage that was no longer real. But this was her chance to find herself again. In previous episodes, things had gotten tense between Mary and Kody since she felt more like a family heirloom than a wife. Robin and Kody had become closer, and the rest of the family had created new lives without her. Mary felt a burning in her heart after Christine left. she saw another way out for the first time. In episode 13, we see Mary pack up the rest of her things, which includes a small framed picture of her and Leon, her child, who had always told her to choose herself. As she loaded the last box into her car, there was no dramatic goodbye, no tears from Kody. There was only quiet. It wasn't simple for Mary to change. For the first few weeks in Utah, I was very lonely. But things started to change when she got back in touch with Amy and Tammy, two long-lost cousins who had been watching her reality TV journey from afar. Amy, who is always strong but also caring, welcomed Mary into her home with a hug and a drink of sweet tea. Tammy, who was on her own path of change and self-love, became an unexpected source of encouragement. The three ladies, who had all been hurt in different ways by life, took consolation in their mutual strength. They both joined a women's wellness group in their town, and that's when Mary first started to talk about her history. Her voice, which was shaky and hesitant at first, became powerful and clear. She didn't talk like a victim of polygamy. She talked like a survivor of emotional abuse who had the strength to start over. Mary plants flowers in her backyard garden, which is a very touching image. Sunflowers are her favorite flowers. The camera stays on her while she carefully presses the dirt around the roots, which represents the new life she was caring for. She started writing a memoir with the preliminary title, Unshared: My Life Beyond Sister Wives. In it, she promised to tell the truth, not the sanitized version that people see on reality TV. She also worked with Amy and Tammy to start a podcast called Healing in Layers, where the three talked about trauma, forgiveness, and healing. It rapidly became popular, especially with people who had been following Mary's tale for years. Leon shows up in the last few minutes of the program, which is a surprise. They relax around the fire pit in the backyard, talk about the future, roast marshmallows, and laugh. Mary is hopeful for the first time in years. Kody sends a text later that is short, cold, and unemotional. I heard you on the podcast. You seem pleased. I hope you're doing well. Mary doesn't reply. She smiles, puts down her phone, and returns to her garden.
She didn't need him to say it was okay.
She never did. Hi, lovely viewers. Welcome to my channel. I'm Sabrina, and I hope you're having a great day. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you appreciate the video.